Everyone wants one clean first appearance date. With Dr. Occult, the best cited first is an index entry. Right here. An evidence card that says New Fun Comics number 6, Oaked 1935. And it might be the earliest anchor people point to. But this episode is using index level citations, not primary scans. So we're not claiming we personally verified the original artifact details. Quick rule for the whole video: indexed proven. So today is a case file, not a plot recap and not a victory lap. It's a practical look at how a 1930s occult detective ends up in DC's orbit, why his history goes intermittent, and why first appearance debates keep happening. Dr. Occult traces back to mid-1930s comics published under EA's National Allied Publications, a corporate predecessor to DC. Reference databases commonly point to that 1935 New Fun Comics listing, and we'll use it as a traceable index entry, which verifies only that the index lists it, not that we've confirmed every primary detail ourselves. Micro payoff before we go further. When fans say first appearance, they often mean three different things. 1. First printed story, the earliest page where the character actually appears. 2. First cover dated issue, the date printed on the cover, which isn't always the day it hit stands. 3. First on sale date, the earliest distribution date, which you usually can't prove from an index alone. That's why a single database listing can be useful and still not settle the argument. So what does that early placement tell us? First, genre. Dr. Occult shows up when comics are still trying on identities, anthology pages pulling from pulp magazines, newspaper strips, stage magic, and radio thrillers. The occult detective is a perfect bridge. The structure of a mystery story, the promise of danger, and a supernatural twist that lets artists draw the impossible. Second, why the occult played so well in that era. In early 20th century pop culture, occult doesn't just mean secret societies. It also means seances, spiritualism, stage illusions, and the public appetite for hidden knowledge. You didn't have to believe in any of it to enjoy the vibe. Across the broad strokes, Dr. Occult's premise is consistent. He investigates supernatural threats. But the specifics, tools, abilities, even the rules around the weird shift with time and continuity. That variability isn't a flaw. It's part of why characters like this survive. Here's the lens that makes Dr. Occult make sense without turning this into an appearance list. He's modular. Shared universe comics eventually need certain jobs filled: street crime, cosmic spectacle, science gone wrong, and reliably, the supernatural. But that magic corner doesn't always start as a corner. Sometimes it starts as a single door in an anthology book, one kind of story you can open when you want a different flavor. Dr. Occult is best understood as one of those early doors, an early example of occult mystery functioning inside American comics before the modern branded magic side of DC was a fixed thing. Now the publishing reality. His history is intermittent across decades. That doesn't mean monthly for 80 years. It means the idea returns when the market wants it, then disappears when editorial priorities shift. And to show what that looks like, here's a second traceable index checkpoint. The New Adventures of Superboy. 13. Again, that's an index citation, not proof of the exact context without opening the issue. And that leads to the second reason his first is messy: continuity. With long-running DC-adjacent characters, continuity becomes a moving target. Reboots, editorial lines, multiverse labeling. Suddenly the question isn't only who is Dr. Occult, it's which Dr. Occult, in which framework. So in this cut, we're not going to make confident citation-free claims like he joined X or he works for Y. Treat specific affiliation statements as unverified unless you're reading them directly in the comics or a vetted database entry tied to an issue. One more complication: documentation. Early comics often have incomplete or inconsistent creator credits. Indicia can be unclear, records can be missing, and different databases can disagree until someone does the archival work. So if you see super confident statements about exact creator attributions for the first appearance, treat them as unconfirmed until checked against primary publication records. That isn't an accusation. It's what happens when an industry wasn't preserving its paperwork like a museum. So, what's the takeaway? Dr. Occult isn't DC's first everything. He's more interesting than that. He's a case study in how a pulp era occult archetype entered early comics, how first appearance claims get built from indexes, and how a character can stay alive in a shared universe by staying useful. If you want another case file like this, tell me which kind of job role you want next. Vanished characters, rebooted concepts, or a whole genre that comics borrowed from pulp and never gave back.